Kate, 22 female, and I, 23 male, are Mark's male preschooler parents. We split up before he was born, and to be honest, I'm not very involved with the parenting besides being generous with child support and occasionally having Mark over. I have a chronic and terminal condition that recently landed me in the hospital. I had a horrible flare-up and had to be admitted to ICU. To make things worse, it happened when I was supposed to have Mark over. I was unconscious and on life support, so I couldn't answer Kate's calls. I checked my phone and saw all the missed calls and messages when I woke up. Kate was very upset as I basically ghosted her, and she sent a lot of rude and judgmental messages. So I snapped a pic of me in the hospital bed with all the tubes attached and sent it to her with the caption, "Sorry, I was busy trying not to die." Kate obviously freaked out and apologized, and I, being high on meds, told her, "It's okay, just a normal day." It turns out Kate didn't know about my condition. We didn't have a relationship. She was just a girl from my school whom I hooked up with, and it didn't end well. And we don't have much contact aside from Mark-related stuff. I don't know why I didn't tell her. I probably forgot or something. Obviously, it made her freak out even more. Kate called me and started crying and yelling at the same time, basically having a breakdown over the phone. She said I should have been upfront with her about it back then, that it's my fault if Mark ever gets sick. It's not a genetic nor a transmittable condition, so he's okay, by the way. She also said it's unfair that we made a baby who will lose his dad at a young age, and this is where I might have been the idiot. I said, "You know what would be more unfair? Dying before my only son graduates high school." This upset her even more, and she said I'm the idiot for making her and Mark go through this. I said it wasn't my fault. She said it was because if I were upfront with her, she wouldn't have hooked up with me. I told her it was too late, and she called me an idiot, hung up, and told everyone I was an idiot to her. So am I? Edit. My condition got more severe after Mark was born. I won't bore you with the full medical history, but it evolved into a more deadly and horrible thing after I caught the global flu. Mark wasn't planned and we were on birth control, but the condom failed us. Kate didn't want to terminate. She knew I wasn't in good health as we went to the same school, but she didn't know that it had gotten worse. I'm not very involved with Mark because I originally didn't want him, but she was dead set on giving birth, and I couldn't completely abandon the kid. Everything sucks here. It sucks that you're dying. It sucks that you irresponsibly had a kid. It sucks that the kid will lose a parent. It sucks that you're fighting. I don't think you had a social obligation to disclose your medical history to a casual hookup. Still, you should have disclosed it either during the pregnancy or at least after the birth to plan for the future. I agree. Also, what does generous with child support mean? It's the bare minimum. You're not generous unless you're coughing up 3 times what's necessary. These two people sound too immature to have a child in the world and to be dealing with such tragic illness. I mean, he did almost die, and she's chewing him out instead of being supportive. How mature would you be if you just nearly died and are getting blamed for the fact that you had an even more limited shelf life? By the sounds of it, it doesn't sound like Mark was intended, but the OP did what a dad does and is doing his best to take care of his son. Crappy situation, but the OP isn't an idiot here. He just should have mentioned his condition. I wouldn't even call his baby mama an idiot. Both of them are scared and handled the situation extremely poorly. It's been several years since she got pregnant, and he never mentioned that she had to plan to be a single parent instead of a co-parent. That's a huge issue. They need to sit down and plan for how this child will be supported in the event of his father's early death. Does he have life insurance? Can he even get it? Is he putting money away to support his child after his death? I mean, I have a hard time calling someone who's terminally ill an idiot, but you are the idiot. Your ex should have known that you're ill, as this is something that will affect your child someday and is affecting your child now. What if you had died during this trip to the hospital and Kate had been entirely unprepared that this was even a possibility? What if a few years from now you die and your son and Kate had no idea this was a possibility? You should have told her, not for her sake, but for your son's sake. I have 3 kids, Harlow teen, Alec tween, and Max preschooler. This is about Harlow. Harlow's from her previous marriage. She's her dad's only child, so she's the center of his world and gets his undivided attention. And he spoils her. The problem is that now she expects me to do the same as her dad, which is not possible for me. You see, I have 2 other kids who also need my attention. Last week when she was here, she was talking to me about something that had happened at school. I was busy making dinner and helping Alex study, so I got distracted and didn't listen to some of her stories. Apparently, she asked me a question, and when I didn't answer, she started screaming at me. I got mad at her, and we got into a fight. She threatened that she would stay with her dad from now on if I kept being like this, and I got angry and told her that with this attitude, maybe it's better if she does that. She went to her room crying, and I got many texts from her dad calling me all kinds of names. Am I the idiot for dividing my time between all of my kids? Sorry, I can't listen to her all day. I have a life and other kids. Oof, lady, you are a massive gaping idiot. You're supposed to be more mature than a young teen. I don't know. Maybe you could have been an adult and said something like, "Hey, I really want to hear about this, Harlow, but I can't give it my full attention while making dinner and helping with homework. So can you tell me at dinner?" You are an adult. You could model adult good manners instead of ignoring her and making her feel unwanted and secondary in her home, and then blowing up at her. You have a teenager who actually wants to talk to you about her day in life, and you can't even handle making time for that in a reasonable way? This was a big parenting failure on your part. Oh, the spoiled rotten horror. My kid wants to talk to me and wants me interested in them. How did she get so unlucky as a parent? She took a kid's normal, valid emotions and made herself the victim. What an idiot. Oh, please. Which young teen girl wouldn't choose to live with the fun Disney parent over their mom? Of course she gets my attention, but my point is, she can't expect more attention, and this is the result of her choice. I don't like the way he's raising her. He's making her a spoiled, entitled child, and I worry about her future. My younger kids are actually very understanding of my situation. Even my toddler knows that he needs to share my attention with his siblings sometimes. Harlow's the only one who can't understand that. It's not my fault that she doesn't get enough undivided attention. She did it to herself when she chose to live with her dad. How often should I give her my undivided attention when I see her 2 days a month? This is just how much she gets, and she did it to herself. I'm not punishing her, but actions have consequences. This lady just admitted she spends 2 darn days a month with this girl. Invalidated her whole darn post. 2 days a month? And this girl is spoiled rotten for wanting to be prioritized in those 2 days, while her other kids get her to themselves, almost exclusively. She's bitter AF towards the dad and says it's her daughter's fault for getting no one-on-one time. Yikes! Some people really shouldn't be parents. She's clearly one of them. Clearly she doesn't even see how she's the issue here. I feel for the daughter. I know exactly what it's like to have a mother like this. I'm glad the daughter's in a safer environment. My daughter, Ava, a young teen, is a good kid in general. She gets good grades and is pretty quiet at school, sticking to her friend group and not causing issues. I was surprised to get a call today that I needed to pick her up since she got in trouble at school. Basically, the class clown, Mia, was messing around in class and dancing and singing during class for no reason. My daughter had enough and told her to shut the heck up. No one likes her, and she's the reason no one enjoys school. A student recorded the whole thing. Mia cried and they were both sent to the principal's office. The principal wanted my daughter to give her an apology. I told them no, and that we were leaving. This started with the mom telling me her daughter needed an apology. I told her that her kid is a brat and she should learn how to behave in class. If she wasn't annoying as all heck, my daughter wouldn't have snapped after 5 months. She called me a jerk, and my daughter's iffy if she should apologize. So I'm making this. Edit. The teacher was trying to get Mia back to her seat. This was in the middle of a lesson. She was trying, and Mia was ignoring her and kept going. This wasn't a one-time thing. According to my daughter, she had 5 months of dealing with Mia and her behavior. Does she have ADHD? No idea. Not my kid. If she does, it may explain some things, but doesn't excuse it. Not the idiot. These are either 8th graders or high schoolers. If this student constantly derails class and prevents other students from learning, she should be called out. Teachers really can't do anything in this day and age. Former teacher here. Peer pressure and public call-outs can work, especially if it's the other students saying, "Hey, this isn't okay." One comment in 5 months isn't bullying. Your daughter lost her patience. Chances are the class clown does this for social media videos and likes. LOL. And what's the teacher gonna do? You can't physically force a student to leave the classroom unless they're a threat to themselves or others. I can't imagine being a teacher today. No control, no one to back you, lack of resources, social media, and cell phones. The death of public education as we know it. Everyone's the idiot here. Mia for repeatedly disrupting the class, the teacher and the school for letting it go on for this long, your daughter for being way too harsh with the comments. All that wasn't necessary. You for not telling your kid, at least in private, that the comments were out of line. Defending her to the principal is one thing, but acting like that's okay? In general, you sound like one of those parents who thinks their kid is an innocent angel who can do no wrong. If she was, she wouldn't be telling someone to shut the heck up. LOL. My wife, 31, and I, 33 male, have a toddler boy. He currently goes to daycare during the day. I drop him off and my wife's mother will pick him up. My wife can't drive, so she unfortunately cannot take him. I've found that if I get my son out of the door by 8:45, I can get him to daycare and then be on time for work. Unfortunately, my wife tends to drag her feet with getting him fed and ready, so she's caused me to be late multiple times. I'm in a field where I simply cannot be late, and therefore this situation is unacceptable. I've been late 4 times since he started going to daycare, and my wife has only gotten less consistent. Last Wednesday, I realized that if I waited for my wife to get him fully ready, I'd be late for work. I simply walked out the door. She called me screaming angrily, but I told her that if she didn't want him to stay home, she should have him ready on time. The next day, she managed to get him right out at 8:45, but on Friday, it became clear again that she would cause me to be late. I just walked out the door. She texted me multiple times, and when I got home at around 11 p.m., she had a lot to say about it. I don't think I'm the idiot for my policy, seeing as I simply cannot afford to be late for work, but I wonder if there's something I'm not seeing here. Edit. I have 2 jobs. We cannot afford our current lifestyle and daycare on my daytime job salary alone. My wife is not looking for work, and my son is not autistic. My wife says that she's overwhelmed. Her mother usually stays over for some time, but on some days, she has other matters to which she must attend to and leaves early. She doesn't drive because of anxiety. Wait, you leave at 8:45 a.m. and get home at 11 p.m.? I'm not saying you're wrong, but why is your son in daycare, which you cannot afford, and your wife's not working? What does she do all day while your son is at daycare? Have you talked to your wife about the fact that you can't afford your lifestyle, and you will have no relationship with your child since you're never home? Do you want to have a relationship with your child? I feel like there are more significant issues here that if dealt with, you wouldn't have this issue. So the husband's working overtime to support the wife who wants to be a stay-at-home wife while also having childcare. I don't understand it. It may seem harsh, but the wife needs to be an equal partner in the marriage, even if she gets overwhelmed. I always say that these people must be amazing in bed, because I can't figure out for the life of me any other reason why somebody would put up with that crap. I am absolutely certain that had I ever tried to pull a stunt like that, the man I had children with would have divorced me. Like, without even a discussion. I'd just come home one day and find my crap packed. OP, what you're doing is unsustainable. You're going to burn yourself out. Also, you're missing your kid growing up. This is completely and utterly ridiculous. You're working 13 hours. not getting home till 11 p.m., and then doing chores before you go to bed? Your wife doesn't drive, doesn't work, doesn't look after the kid all day, and still cannot get him sorted on time so you can take him to daycare and be at work on time and keep your job? The job that's paying for her entire lifestyle to do nothing. This is a bigger problem than the kid not being ready on time. This is a come to Jesus talk with your wife. My 31 male girlfriend, Hannah, 31, is American, and although I live here, I am from India. We've been together for 7 months, so I invited her to dinner yesterday for the first time with my parents, and she agreed to it. I asked her beforehand whether she'd be okay with our local cuisine, and she said sure. We served her the dish called string hoppers, if you'd like to look it up. It was meant to be eaten with your hands. I had no idea that it was going to be an issue, and I would have informed her otherwise. When she heard what it was, she was like, "Oh, cool. Do you have a fork, though?" We told her it has to be eaten with hands, and she looked surprised. She asked me, "Do you really expect me to eat with bare hands? It's not even bread or something. I'd dirty my hands by having something like this. That's disgusting." We were shocked, and I told her that it's generally eaten with your hands, and that although we can give her a fork, I didn't like her tone. She asked me what would I expect if I asked her to act like a child, and asked me whether I thought she had not been raised well to eat like that. She said that if it's meant to be eaten with your hands, she doesn't want to eat it even with a fork. Honestly, I thought she was overreacting, and in the end, she left without having dinner and said I insulted her by offering her something like that. Am I the idiot? Wow, how the heck did this subject not come up before? Also, to call your family's food and table manners disgusting to their faces in their own home? Yeah, no, she's not the one, mate. You're not the idiot. I wonder if she eats pizza with a fork and knife, LMAO. She probably eats her Cheetos with a spoon. You even said she could have a fork if she wanted one. Most likely, she didn't want to eat the weird foreign food and was looking for excuses. I looked it up and it looks delicious. Not even one of the most unusual foreign foods I've ever seen. So I really don't know what her issue is. The only thing childish about that meal was her behavior. Throw out the whole girlfriend, along with the rest of the trash. You and your poor parents deserve better. True story. Queen Victoria was hosting a state dinner that included dignitaries from Africa. One of the delegates, who had no experience with European finger bowls of water to clean one's fingers, lifted a finger bowl full of water and took a sip. The assembled Europeans were shocked at the show of bad manners, particularly in front of the Queen, until Victoria lifted her finger bowl and drank from it. OP, your girlfriend has no notion that manners are local. She's as gauche as someone making a fuss and insisting on a knife and fork to eat a hot dog. Mini update. I talked to her afterward, and I did bring up other cuisines she might have with her hands, and she said that stuff like fruits and cookies and burgers, which are dry, are not an issue. She has her pizza and french fries with a spoon and fork as well, as odd as it sounds.